I'm Dutch from origin, but I live in France since '89, and there I work, there I have my studio, there I lived with my husband Kees Ox, and I have a family in California, a brother in San Diego, my sister, my elder sister Francine Vanderhoek lives here in Ridgecrest, and my younger sister Caroline lives in Santa Rosa. 3 years ago my husband died and I wanted to travel again. He didn't like it at all to be in an airplane, so I started to visit California. I wanted to see my brother and sisters here. And Francine, it was around Christmas time, she invited me and she wanted to show a lot, and she suggested to go to the Maturango Museum, and it was so beautiful. I adored it. The sculptures outside, it was so good to see that, even with the shadow, that was wonderful. So I bought a book over there and I saw the petroglyphs, and they were so beautiful. I wanted to see the real petroglyphs. I asked if it should be possible to see them, but it seemed it was somewhere where foreigners were not allowed. So it was a little bit, I had to accept it, of course. And so Francine, next day after that visit on the Maturango Museum, my sister suggested to see another ceramist here, Lois Hinman. And when I entered and I saw all her stoneware, all her throwing pots, I was really very glad to see someone with a heart on the clay, in the clay. And so we talked. I saw the kilns outside, and she told about raku. That's a special Japanese glazing technique. So I said, well, I'm doing also raku. And she had seen, by my sister Francina van der Hoek, she had seen some of my sculptures, and she said, well, but I adore your sculptures. How do you make them? I said, well, different way, out of slabs, but maybe we might make a workshop once. And so that was the start, finally, to organize something together. And that was in January 2017. I needed 1 week, really, before the students came in. And when the students came in, it was really very good that they had thought about an idea before. What is your personal taste, your personal idea? What do you think about the petroglyphs? That's why we are here, so that's the theme, that's the most important thing, but give it your own way, your own sense, your own feeling. So they started, I helped, I was really running from one to the other, and sometime my sister came in and she said, well, but he or her, she was waiting. I said, well, you have to do it in this way. Maybe you make a list and go from that list to the other. She's always very practiced. She helps me a lot. So that was the start of the workshop. When I was a small girl, I had 2 elder sisters and my parents liked to travel. When I was in Switzerland, there was a painter and I adored his work. So my 2 sisters were looking at the flowers, and I was amazed by his paintings. I was amazed by art from, let's say, 4 or 5 years old. So I was always working with shelves, creating, and my mother helps me a lot. She always suggested, you might do that. And it's important for parents that they give compliments when children try something. So always in my life I had that chance. I'm glad, and my sisters even, when they wanted to have something, making special things, they asked me, can you make a draw of it? And so I had the lucky circumstances. And later on, when I was 16, I saw the sign yin yang, and that was for me something that made me feel what is important in myself. Always the contrast, the contrast in between man, woman, day and night, rough and smooth, all the contrast. So that's finally my most important thing in my life. And also the theme, continue it, to continue, because it's like in life, there's and to be born, in between death and life, of course. So in between those two, the difference when someone has to die, I feel sorry, but it's also so nice to see a newborn baby. And that's like life is. We have to accept all the colors in between. And for me, in my work, it's always black and white in sculptures. So that's maybe why I've chosen for the raku technique, because it gives that strong difference, and even the lines in the glazing, the cracks, you might say that's something, I say it comes from heaven, because you can say I want that crack from left to right. It comes as it comes. And sometime after raku glazing day, I thought in the beginning, well, it's different. So in the evening my husband said, you are a little bit quiet, aren't you happy? I said, well, I had thought it might be more in a different way. He said, look tomorrow, you'll be glad, because it's more than you had expected, but you have to change your mind. You have to change what it should be, because in life, that's how life happens. In life, it's always different that you had expected. I'm so glad to have the show with the students in the museum. It's for me really very, very fine to have it all together, to meet the students, because it was very deeply for each other to work together, very intensive, even a day longer than Lois had planned before. But we were all really impressed by working and finishing the sculptures, and now being together Friday on the opening. It's so great to be there. And after the show, I'll see my youngest sister, and then I go back to France. I travel to Paris, and I go back to my house for only 2 weeks, because in the beginning of December, from the 4th, I have in Paris a show with 3 colleagues, and I take along always work of my husband, because when someone asks me to show my work, I always want to have something of him with me, because it makes me stronger, it helps me, and I want to say to the whole world that his work stays fabulous.